and cats would come in, man, and, you know, they would always say what they were gonna do, what they were gonna accomplish, like how they were gonna do it. And I would be like, man, that's phenomenal. I would always say, man, I got one question for you. Like, what you willing to sacrifice? What you willing to give up? Right? Because that's the action.
Right.
Everybody wants something. Everybody aspires to get something. That's the easy part, right? But the challenge is, what am I willing to give up? I tell people often, like, one of the most challenging times in my life was when I was in a situation that I had no control over, and I felt my spirit saying, let go, and I couldn't because I had a false sense of control, right? But it took a level of action that in the moment I felt like, nah, I can't do it. But in our lives, oftentimes, when life is asking us to let go of old environments, old people, old situations, old habits, action.
Yeah.
Right? It's asking us to let go of things. We like, nah, we can't do it because we feel as if we got a false sense of control. And so when it says talk is cheap, action is expensive, action is always going to cost you something, right? Are you willing to pay the cost? More importantly, are you willing to accept the cost?
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We are your hosts, Brian and Evan. And tonight we're going to talk about action, which we talk about on here a lot. But it's important to kind of drill home things like this, you know, and we're going to try and speak to people that are new in recovery tonight and try to give them some of our experience, some of our insight on sacrifice and what's required. So after seeing that video, Evan, thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So I can relate like to the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I'll try to remember as best I can.
Yeah, I'm going to be bad about it.
It was a lot that he says in there, and it's powerful if you really think about it. But you know, in the beginning, he's talking about, and I can picture myself years ago, right? I'm gonna get sober, and I'm gonna do all these great things, and you know, that's what I wanted, right? But like, how was I gonna get there?
Right.
And that was the thing, like, I would say I'm going to do these things, but what was I willing to sacrifice to get this process started? And for me, in the beginning, it was comfortability.
Yeah.
I had to sacrifice. I was comfortable in that lifestyle. I didn't want to go somewhere and be uncomfortable with people I don't know, opening up about feelings and doing all these things. I didn't want to do that. I had to be willing to sacrifice time.
Yeah.
And time time away from an employer, time away from my wife and my children and my family and all the people that cared about me. You know, I had to be willing to sacrifice some things, especially early on, to get what I always said I wanted to do, to get that process started.
Which was what? What is what you always wanted to do? Which is what?
Well, during active addiction, I didn't want to live like that.
Right.
I wanted to be sober and be free.
Mm-hmm.
And I always said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. But there was a lot of times I didn't put any action behind it.
Yeah. Same here.
Right.
You know, thinking of some of the things that have to be sacrificed, at least, you know, especially like in the very, very beginning, right? Like non-negotiable things that had to be sacrificed. Like you mentioned some of them, like my time. One that really pops in my head is my image.
Yeah.
What are people going to think of me? Like I have to set the importance of that aside. I'm going to be judged. You know, what's my mom going to say? What's my dad going to say? What's my wife going to say? What's my boss going to say? What are my friends going to say? What is everyone going to think of me? They're going to look at me differently, even though they've been looking at me the same way pretty much all this time because I've been sick. But that's how my mind works, and things like that will keep me from taking action, right? Because I don't want to suffer that consequence. I don't want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. That's what you said, right? And a lot of it stems around not wanting to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Fear.
Yeah, it's fear. Like fear. I might lose my job. We have all the excuses, right? I might lose my job. Might lose my house. Might lose my wife.
I'm the king of excuses.
Might lose my kids. Might lose all. Which I'm going to lose all those things anyways, right? So might as well get uncomfortable, because if we're honest, the way we were living was not comfortable. We thought it was, because that's what we were comfortable with. We were used to that, but that doesn't mean it's comfortable. Like it's become normal, right? But looking back, like, man, that was not a comfortable way to live. Like, I hated myself. I had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. Like, that is not a comfortable way to live. You know, I got to the point where it was, like you said, I do not want to live like this anymore. I can't. I can't. Something's got to change, right? But the problem was, I didn't know how to change. I didn't know what action I needed to take, you know, because in the past I'd failed at all my attempts at getting sober because I was taking the wrong actions. Right. So it's important to take the right actions, to take responsible actions that are informed by people that have been through the process before. So, yeah.
You know, even from looking at it from that standpoint of initially going to treatment to start this journey, and then when I get out of treatment and I get involved in a 12-step program and I have a sponsor, and, you know, and we're still met with that same option. Like, if you want this and you really want this freedom, if you want some of this freedom,
come get you some.
But what are you going to sacrifice? And again, it's the same things, right?
Yeah.
We're going to have to get uncomfortable with somebody. We're going to have to face a lot of things, and then
gotta get honest.
Get honest, and judgment comes along with that. It's still going to be taking up time. I've got to be willing to be able to sit down and make time. I've got to put the action in to make time to work on myself and do this work, and meet with my sponsor to tell him some terrible things that I've done, and get uncomfortable and face some fears, and, you know, the action.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it's all about.
It's what it's all about. Like it says in the big book, right? Faith without works is dead, right? So I can pray all day, I can want this so bad, but if I don't take the steps to do it, nothing's going to change. Right. You know, like, it's just that simple. If I keep doing the same things I've always done, I'm going to keep getting the same results, right? And those results are shitty. Yeah. They suck. Every time I'm going to keep getting, because every time that I kept trying to do things, and I'm thinking I'm doing the right things, right? I'm thinking I'm taking some real action, but I'm not, because I'm not looking at myself. You know, all I'm trying to do is avoid. You know, that's not real action. Avoiding isn't real action. No. It's evasive. Like, it's not, I'm trying to find a loophole and work my way around the problem instead of facing the problem.
It's the wrong kind of action.
It's the wrong kind of action. Yeah, exactly. You know, so we talk about, when we talk to people about the steps, we talk about, you know, the first 3 steps. We're gathering some information, we're making a decision, but then we get into the action steps, right? So the first thing, so when it comes to the 12 steps, the first part of action is taking a personal inventory. It's looking at ourselves. Where are we? What are these defects that we have? What are these things that are wrong? Or where have we fallen short? You know, what am I carrying around? These belief systems of whether it's fear or anger or guilt, shame, remorse. Like, what are these things blocking me from the power that I need, right? So, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that's where a lot of people stop, right? Because it's uncomfortable. You know, it's not fun to take a look at yourself, you know, and have to take responsibility for the role that you've played in things. But like you said, like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to sacrifice my pride? Am I willing to sacrifice my ego, my time to write? You know, which doesn't take that much time, really, if we really do it.
Sit down and do it.
Sit down and do it. It's like, but you got to face it, like a lot of us are lazy. A lot of us are lazy as hell. It's like, oh, you want me to work 60 hours a week? I'll do that. And then your sponsor is like, I want you to read 3 pages in the big book and write a page. And it's like, I just can't find the time, man. Yeah. It's like, what's important? Like, what are our priorities? And all of this, the willingness not to take action is a step one problem. Do I really believe that I'm going to die if I don't take some action, some responsible action, and that's a good way for us to know if someone like really is invested in their recovery, is because they're willing to do things that they don't want to do. Yeah. And that starts a lot of times for a lot of us in treatment, being vulnerable. Yeah. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to do that. Yeah. I've spent my whole life not being vulnerable. So we have these belief systems, that these walls that we've built up, these barriers that have to be knocked down, but we have to be willing to get a little bit uncomfortable to let them be knocked down, so action, do it is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And even, I'm going through the steps again right now, and I'm back to 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the fun ones.
Yeah, fun ones.
Yeah.
And, luckily, I've been blessed to be able to go through this process, and on more than once over these last 4 and over 4 years now, whatever it's been. But when I went through 6 and 7. And it's kind of like, man, I still see these defects. So what, I got to keep the action in motion, to work through some defects of character that I have, and going into 8 and 9 and keep the action going and make some amends that are probably well overdue, that I still need to make, so, and, I have to continue this. It's not just in the beginning.
Right. This applies to life.
Yeah, this is continues. If I want to keep on this journey, right, and keep getting a little bit more free as time goes on, and just, I just want people to know, especially early on, like some of the darkest and most painful times can lead us to the brightest and most joyful blessings that we never thought were possible. And all it takes is some action. Just start to do something. And once you start and that ball gets rolling, it gets a little easier.
Yeah, it does. And we don't have to actually understand everything either. It's like, just take the steps. Like, just go. Yeah. Just go. We'll figure it out along the way. You don't have to, it's not like I have to have all the facts, I have to have all the data, I have to have all the information before I can take action. Yeah. No, you just need to know what's wrong with you, what the solution is, and then you go after it. Yeah. Like, it's that simple.
I mean, as far as like that goes, like, I don't have all the fucking answers.
No, we never will.
Yeah, like I can sit here, like, for example, you're way more versed on the big book than I am. Like, I know that. I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, yes, I have read the book many of times by myself, through many group studies. And there's times where, like, I might know where certain things are and point it out, but, like, typically you're on it. Like, just before we started this, you were like, I know it says it somewhere, let me find the page, and I'm like, what you just said doesn't even ring a bell. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I've read it a million times.
You're like, yeah. Like, it's on one of them pages.
I'm like, I don't remember that, though.
Which is okay.
Right.
Which is okay, because there's plenty of things in there that I don't know.
Right. And I continue this action, though. And we sit down and we all go through it together, and every time, that's why my book's got green and yellow and orange and pin marks and all different markings and writings, because every time I'm like, man, this is this is what I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to hear right now in this time,
Right.
this moment.
Yeah.
You know, so it's awesome. But again, we just gotta get into it and keep this thing rolling.
Yeah.
You know, to keep getting the blessings.
And, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter really how much I know out of that book if I can't apply it.
Right.
If I can't take the information and put it into action, it doesn't matter what I know. Like, I could know everything about that book front to cover, or cover to cover, every word. I could, you know, I can tell you exactly what page that's on. It's on the third line. Doesn't matter. If I can't apply it, that information is useless.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not, you know, we don't need to be able to quote or recite anything. Like, I just need to be able to apply the information, and I need to apply it with my feet, not with my mouth. You know, sometimes I need to apply it with my mouth because I need to like relay the information, but I need to be practicing it as well. You know, I need to be living it, or else what's the point?
Right.
Right. So I think a word that keeps popping in my head as we've been talking is humility. Right. It takes a lot of humility to ask for help. You know, like that's the first step of action that we take. As far, and I'm not talking about the steps, I'm just talking about just in general, like to reach a hand out or whatever and say, hey, I need help. Like, I can't do this. Like, I'm struggling. Like, that there takes a leveling of pride. You know, it takes a lot of humility to be able to do that. Yeah. You know, to take that action, to go into a treatment center that we don't want to go to. Yeah. You know, no one wants to be there. Like, some people will tell you they do, and because they want to get better. Yeah. But if they could have a choice to get better at home, they would get better at home. Yeah. If they could get the same treatment at home, they would be at home. Right. You know, like, it's not. But then once we get there, just that alone isn't enough. Yeah. Right? We have to keep going while we're there. Take actions while we're there. That could be something very simple. You know, show up to group on time. Pay attention, you know, ask questions. Like, that's a big one right there. Is I don't know how many times I've seen this of, you know, being a group setting, and you can tell that people want to ask certain questions, but they're scared to because of how they'll look. Because other people will think that, man, you don't know that, or that's a dumb question. Like, look, the only dumb question you don't ask there is there aren't any. First of all, but the only dumb one that you don't is the one you don't ask, right? Because of your pride and your ego. Like, I'm so scared that this guy that I'll probably never see again, you know, I won't ask the question that might lead to saving my life, but I'm scared to ask it because of what this guy from a totally different state that I don't even talk to might think. Right. You know, like, to take the action, like, raise your hand. Like, that's an action. Like, just, there's little things that we can do in the beginning before we get out of treatment, and that kind of, like you said, that kind of get the ball rolling. Like, open up, be honest, you know, ask questions, start doing things differently, you know, and it can be little things. It can be making your bed. It could be praying, you know, it could be trying something different, just something new, you know, like, I don't know, is yoga going to keep you sober? No. But while I'm there, maybe I should try it because I never have before. You know, maybe just getting used to being uncomfortable helps. Yeah. Because we're going to have to get uncomfortable. Once you walk out of there, that's uncomfortable. Oh, yeah. Like, when I left treatment, I was happy to be leaving. But I was so uncomfortable and so scared when I walked out of there. Because
you're leaving that bubble.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah. Because I had developed a new sense of comfort, of being safe. You know, and then I come out in the world, and it's just full of wolves. You know, like, I'm not safe out here. You know, and that's a good fear to have. Because I want to have some healthy level of fear of something that's going to kill me. Yeah. Like, I need to have that. Right. So my first step of action was I went to a meeting, and I got with my sponsor, and we got started.
something you had just mentioned. So for some people might not know, what's your definition of humility?
It's the opposite of pride. So I would say the good definition of humility would be knowing where my power comes from, knowing that it's not me, that there's a power greater than myself that's out there that is helping me, that I'm not doing it. It's I'm not better than you, but I'm not less than you either. You know, that I'm equal, that I have a right to be here, but it's like the opposite of pride and ego.
Yeah, it's like that leveling of the pride.
Yes.
And,
but not to the point to where I'm like just a victim and like, I don't deserve to be here. I can't, like
right.
some groveling,
Yeah.
Little bitch boy.
Right.
That's not it either. Yeah. God doesn't want me doing that. He wants me to hold my head high, but not looking down on you.
So did you have to find a little humiliation to find humility?
I did. I don't think they're the same thing, but they can be.
Well, like the humiliation to me, and this is something that I was having to talk with my sponsor about recently too, like all my mug shots.
Yeah.
All the embarrassing shit I did to embarrass my family while I was under the
yes, that's humiliating.
You know what I mean? All that stuff is humiliating to me. And then when I start this process and I go into treatment, I start to get a little humility. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Leveling that pride and that ego. And
it's about being right-sized. Mm-hmm. But, understanding your role as a human being, in that I'm not better than anybody else, but I'm not less than either. I'm exactly what I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And I think that the humiliation, that was a big catalyst for me to get help. I was freaking humiliated. I was not proud of the person that I had become. I had to, I had to walk. I went and told my parents that I was going to treatment. And I drove home and I got out, I was crying in my car, and I got out and my kids were standing at the window just watching me cry in my car. And I was like, this is humiliating. And that feeling right there of them like, what's wrong with Dad? Like, they hadn't really ever seen me break down like that. And it was humiliating because I had something he talked about, I had no control. Control was out the window. It's out the window when I drink. It's out the window when I don't drink. Like I have this false sense of it.
This is where I was going with asking you that.
Cool. Well, go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
No, continue.
I just had like, no matter, the harder I would try to have control, the less control I had. Right. So I had to give up control. I had to surrender. And we've had an episode on here where we talk about that, about the paradoxes. It's like, in order to win this fight, I got to give up, Yeah. But that doesn't make sense to me when my mind is in when I'm in that mind frame. It doesn't make sense. When I'm in that place of self-will and self-pity, and I can't see that. That's why I need other people. That's why I need other people to tell me, hey, man, here's what you need to do. You need to go to treatment. Because in my mind, I'm still trying to justify like why I don't need to go to treatment.
Yeah, because you have that false sense of control.
Yeah, I'm like, no, all I need to do is I just need to call my sponsor. And my wife was like, yeah, you do that. For sure, do that.
Yeah.
But you need to go to treatment, because I was a wreck. I need to be separated for a period of time, and I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on it, because we can go in so many different avenues with this control thing.
No, and I'm still just trying to keep it relatable to early on in recovery, right? Because that's what I had was, so I would do all these humiliating things. I would, all the times I'd been arrested or getting caught up in lies and stealing and, treating my family like shit and all these getting right at the wrong time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? All the things I would do. And then I still always had this false sense of control to where I can do this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get sober and this is what I'm going to, but
Yeah.
okay, but like, how are we going to do it? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to do it.
I'm just not going to do it.
So.
I'm just not going to do it anymore.
Right. And that's where I started to find some humility
Mm-hmm.
is when I finally gave in and went to treatment. And I was able to start to get the ball rolling, like we were talking about. So that's just kind of where my mind was going when you had brought that up, and that false sense of control, because most of us had that.
I would say all of us do. Or the humiliation. Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, most of us had all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just that I always wanted to be in control, and I thought I was.
Yes.
I can do this on my own. And then, the next, I'm done. I'm done. I quit. And then that detox starts kicking in.
Mm-hmm. Fuck this.
I don't feel great, but I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
And then detox goes a little longer, and then I'm like, that false sense of control. I have no control anymore. It's out the window, and I'm back at it again. Against my will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that was just something that, like I said, working on, going through these steps again, and 6 and 7, talking about humiliation and humility, and then it lines right up with this as well,
So, I love control. I love it. I didn't say I used to love it. I still do. Yeah. I love the feeling of having control over something.
Sense of power.
Yeah, I love it. And whether it's false or not, a lot of times it is. But I love control. And that hasn't really changed. And I love when people say, like, I don't like control. Like, yes, you do. Like, anyone listening to this, like if I were to pull like the bus of life into wherever we're at, every one of us would go for the steering wheel, right? I want control over the way that this bus is driven, right? So I love control, right? But today I can ask myself, I have the right frame of mind to where I have a perception to where I can look inward and go, okay, Brian, what do you really have control over in this situation? And sometimes it's nothing. I don't have any control over this whatsoever. Sometimes I do have control over my actions, though, of how I react to something. And that goes back to action, right? But if I don't have control, that means I don't have power, right? So if I'm powerless, that's kind of like if I end up in a treatment center, I'm powerless over my addiction, over alcohol, these things, right? It's like having a refrigerator that's not plugged in, right? It's still a refrigerator, but it has no purpose. It serves no purpose. Like, it's just there, right? It has all the parts to work. It has everything it needs, except it's not plugged in. It doesn't have power. And that's kind of what's going on with us when we get to treatment. It's like we're a refrigerator that's not plugged in. Yeah. It's like all the parts, everything you need is there. Like, it's in you. Like, it's there. Everything that you need. But we gotta get plugged into something. We got to get plugged into something. And it's got to be some kind of power that's greater than us. And if I can start to tap into that, but in order to tap into that, I got to take some action. I got to get rid of some of them stones that are in that wall that I was talking about that's blocking me from that power, so I got to start chipping away at stuff, and so that power can flow in, and then once it flows in, it's like, oh man, all these parts are working, so now I have a purpose, but before I didn't have a purpose because I'm not plugged into anything, and I've lived most of my life not plugged into anything. I'm just some refrigerator sitting in a room, I can't feed anybody, because I'm not turned on. I'm not plugged in, so action.
Yeah. So, and then going back a little bit to, which I know a lot of people do struggle with it, where he talked about go back to sacrifice early on. Are you willing to sacrifice those old habits and routines and the people and the places you go? Like, are you willing to sacrifice that stuff to get sober and stay sober? And I can look back at, obviously I had a lot of habits that they were necessary to go. The lying and the manipulating and, just the doing dirty things, just
To get your needs met.
to get my needs met. Like all that stuff has to go. The people, I can look at a couple situations. One very recent situation, and then as far as an old habit. So I'll just kind of briefly give that example. Is at work the other day. I'm in a commission role at work, so I get paid off of what I sell, and this opportunity presents itself, and I can make some money.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah.
I can make this money because, I've already discussed it with him, and this is agreed upon, and this is what we're going to do. And then it comes time to, and the whole time I'm like, this ain't the right thing. That's a defect of character that was coming out.
Yeah.
Or a shortcoming, you know what I mean? However you want to look at it, it was a defect of mine was coming out. And after I guess maybe, it was there initially where I was like, I know this probably ain't right. And then eventually I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it is, and just took care of it and did the right thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? But even 4 years in, I'm faced with those challenges.
Absolutely.
Because this is how I make a living to provide for my family, but I want to do it the right way. So there's times where you can do things that are, in a sense, like, I make money for my family versus just doing morally what's right and wrong.
Yeah. So
that's like,
he said in there, right, talk is cheap.
Yeah.
But action is expensive.
Right.
So it might cost you a little bit in the short term as far as money. But if you do it the right way, number one, you're still going to make enough money.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about not being greedy.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to make enough money, but you did the right thing. You don't have any guilt. You don't have to worry about, man, is karma going to come back around and bite me on this one?
Right.
And it's probably going to benefit you in the future, like, because you did the right thing in the short term, and it's going to help you in the long term.
Absolutely.
Right? You took the responsible action.
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity where you could have taken advantage of someone, but you didn't.
Right.
And that's what taking action over 4 years will do to your life.
Right.
It will, that moral compass that used to be non-existent will pop up and go, hey man, like, yeah, you can do this, but just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
So do you want to live with the consequences of, going back to old behaviors? It's like, no, I don't. So therefore I'm not going to. Like, that's the beauty about this, is like, as we take responsible action over time, we start to think differently. We start to react differently to things. And man, that's awesome. Most people wouldn't do that.
Right.
Most people would just get greedy and just say, well, you know what? Sorry about your luck, but gotcha. And that's not a good way to live.
Yeah. And then even, the other thing I was kind of talking about, are we willing to sacrifice people in relationships? Those are hard to do, depending on the person. So for me, I know we've talked about it before, where so I have had, we talked about, I've been sober and relapse and sober and relapse, but for this whole time, the person my dealer, right, the first time we met, I was sober in recovery, and we worked together, right? And we had a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hang out. We would hang out. He would buy my kid, my daughter stuff for Christmas and birthdays, and I did the same for their kids, and it was a friendship. You know what I mean? But he sold drugs. He didn't use them. He didn't get high on his supply.
He was a responsible drug dealer.
He was just trying to make money, right?
Right.
But of course, hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to go back out. So that's what ended up happening. So I bought from him and then ended up getting sober. And they always supported me while I was sober. You know what I mean? But then the last time I relapsed, of course, it was when I finally ran into him. Just ran into him at a gas station, and that's kind of what started kicking things back off again.
Mm-hmm.
And I still cared about them and their family and wish them the best, but that's a relationship that has to be sacrificed. I want the best for them. I hope that they don't sell drugs anymore to people, obviously, but I don't know what they do. That's a relationship that has to be sacrificed. And are you willing to? Because I'm sure I'm not the only person out there that had that type of story where they had people that they truly cared about and real friendships with, but weren't the best for their sobriety. That's not what was needed for their sobriety. And even, family. I've got family members that I just had to cut ties with.
Yeah.
Because it's necessary. That's something that I have to sacrifice, and I'll see you when I see you. Family event, if you're there, cool, but I can't have any other type of relationship with you, even when it's family. Are we willing to make those sacrifices? Those are hard sacrifices to make, especially when it's family.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I had to do that, and because it was necessary.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of things that we have to sacrifice, and nothing worth having isn't worth working for. So just because I'm having to give some things up doesn't mean that some things aren't coming my way. Yeah. But I have to sacrifice, one big thing that we have to sacrifice is our selfishness and self-centeredness. That has to go. Yeah. Running on, my ideas, my thinking, what I want, I don't know what I want. I don't know what's best for me. When I'm first getting sober, I don't have a clue, because, it might be a relationship, it might be your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, your wife. We get in these, I stayed in a marriage for 6 years that I was unhappy in, all because I didn't want to lose control. I felt like I had control if I was still, at least if I'm in the marriage, I have some sense of control. I don't have to worry about, not seeing my kids or paying child support or losing my house. I lost all those things happened anyways, but in my mind, it was I don't want to give these things up. I don't want to sacrifice the way I feel temporarily, even though it might benefit me in the long term. And that's what a lot of it centers around, is how I feel. I'm making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. And that's what we're doing. We come into a treatment center or whatever, is I don't feel good, whether it's physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I don't feel good, and I don't like not feeling good. So even though it might kill me in the long term, I'll take some short-term relief from that now. I'll AMA. I'll leave, or whatever it is. I'll be disruptive, or I won't open up, but why am I doing that? It's because I have this false sense of security, and I don't think that I can operate without having all this control. Right. So I have to come up, something I had to sacrifice was my thought process. I got to really sit down and say, okay, man, I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground. Tell me what to do. What do I do? Tell me what to do, And it's okay, well, you need to do this. And I was I don't want to do all that. It's like, do you want to die? No. Okay, so do it, and just do it. And I'd go out and do it, and then things would change, like in a good way. And then eventually they weren't things that I had to do. It was just things that I do, and it became a lot easier to do the action, and not just sit around and just hope things change.
So you mentioned the marriage. I stayed in my first marriage. I stayed in it longer. I mean, I actually went through with a marriage that I knew I shouldn't have.
Me too.
And
me too.
Was, because that's where I was at and that's what I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so crazy that our officiant backed out.
And you still went through.
I'm not marrying you two. You're not ready for this. And then it still ended up happening, with someone different. We've got somebody different. That's how crazy I am.
Next.
Yeah, that's how crazy I am. But I've got a friend, and we've known each other for a long time. I haven't seen him in a long time because we live two different lives now, right? Mm-hmm. But he does reach out to me. Usually a few times a year, I'll hear from him, and it's always the same thing. And I give him the same answer every time, and he will go to rehab, but when he gets out of rehab, he'll try to get involved in meetings and a fellowship of some sort, but there's one thing he won't change, and he's not willing to sacrifice, and that is the girlfriend. Who also lives the same type of life.
Right.
So he goes to treatment to get sober, and then he gets out of treatment and he goes right back to this relationship because they live together. Right. And every time he's like, I don't know why I keep doing it. And I'm like, dude, it's pretty simple.
Nothing's really changed.
Right. Yeah. You're trying to work this program in early recovery, but you have put yourself back with the same people and same
environment.
Places and environment, and I mean, it's usually 2 or 3 times a year I hear from him, and it's the same thing every time. And I'm like, man, I know how tough it is, but if you really want this thing, you're going to have to sacrifice, and maybe it's not forever.
Right.
Maybe she comes around later on. Maybe she doesn't.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay as long as you take care of you right now. And you just can't do it, And I get it. People can be hard to sacrifice, especially family or significant others. Like, that stuff is really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, we really only have to change one thing, and that's everything. Right? It's like, I've got to do, and that's a good thing, right? We look at that like, I don't want to change, like, your life sucks.
Yeah.
I'm in a rehab. My life's I've been to rehab twice this year or whatever, how many times it is. My life sucks. Why wouldn't you want to change that? If we're thinking about it from a logical standpoint, but we're not dealing with logical people at that point, right? We're dealing with people with alcoholic insanity. So, with that being said, though, it's like, we just got to do things differently. If what you've been doing isn't working, then there's an indicator that we need to do something else. And just got to keep going, though. It's like, I can't take action for 3 days and expect everything to change and just be Red Bulls and rainbows, man. Like, everything's great now, and it's been 3 days, and I've taken action, so now I'm going to take my foot off the gas. It's like a car being stuck in neutral. It's like, we need to go forward. We don't need to go in reverse, because we've been going in reverse our whole life, and then we start going forward. It's like, I want to take my foot off the pedal. And, because it's getting a little uncomfortable, and so I want to take my foot off the pedal, put it in neutral. And don't get me wrong, there's some times though where we need to pull it back into neutral. But early on, like it just needs to be all gas, no brakes, like go, 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 go. You know, but that's something that it seems like that we just tend to do. Or I'll take some actions. I'll do some. I'll do some. Usually the easier ones, I'll do. But like you said earlier, man, it comes down to the leveling of the pride and the destruction of selfishness and self-centeredness. If we want to change, because that's what has to change, is my outlook of my selfishness. Like we have to be rid of that. Like I have to be rid of that, or else nothing else is going to work. Because if I still go through, say I stay sober, but I'm still operating as a selfish, self-centered individual, then every relationship I get into is going to fail, or I'm going to be unhappy because I'm going to be trying to control things and try to suit things to the way that I want them, right? It's going to be like that at work. It's going to be like that with my family. It's going to be like that everywhere I go, right? Because that's the root of my troubles, is the selfishness. So that's what the action steps do. Right? They're not curing the illness of the body. They're not curing the illness of the mind. They're curing my spirit. Yeah. And then by curing the spirit, the rest straightens out. Right? That's why we're not cured of alcoholism, right? But we have a daily reprieve based on our spiritual condition, right? So, because that's where my problem lies. That's where that false sense of control comes from. It comes from my spirit. I'm sick. So I have to treat that in steps 4 through 9. That's where the action is. That's where all the work is. And then by doing that, everything else straightens out. So, but I can't straighten all that stuff out without doing the 4 through 9 and then maintaining it in 10, 11, and 12. So 4 through 12 is what I pretty much do on a daily basis. So, and that's all the action. That's what gets rid of all those things that are blocking me, that are keeping me powerless or unplugged, right? If you want to use that analogy again, I'm not plugged into anything. And that gets me plugged back in so that I become whole, so that, I can continue. But without the action, it's just like if this were a 3-step program, none of us would stay sober, because we got to do certain things, and it's just, do I wish that we could do it without having to make amends and pay people back and tell people about all this stuff and not change? Yeah, that'd be great. Like if we could do that, we would have found that way already. We tried that way. It doesn't work. That would be awesome. Yeah. Like we could start our whole movement if we could do that. Like, hey, come with us. You don't have to pay anybody back. You don't have to go apologize to anybody. You don't have to be responsible. You don't have to have discipline. Like you just come on. That would be, man, we'd be a cult in no time. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Anything worth having is worth working for. Just got to take the action. Got to take it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, talk is cheap. Action is expensive.
Yeah. And that's all we've done our whole life is a bunch of this. And I talk so much shit.
I was the best.
Yeah.
I could manipulate and con people and get my way and say I'm going to do all these great things.
But here's the thing about
good.
It does. Here's the thing about that. Is that, people that are listening to this, like if they're in a treatment center or they just got out of one and you've been telling people those things, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to stay sober. I'm going to get my life together. Those aren't lies. Like when we say those things, there are probably times when we're just saying that. But I know towards the end, I meant that when I said it. Like I'm done. But the problem was I thought that I had the power to do it on my own, that I'll figure it out. Like you said earlier, I got this.
Yeah. Like
the worst 3 words to ever hear someone say when they're leaving treatment, or is I got this, or hey man, you got this. Like, no, you don't. You don't. This thing is so powerful, you don't have it. Trust me, you don't have it. right? But we, as a collective, and with the power of our understanding, like, then we can make some tracks. But, you know, like not always, not in the very beginning, but towards I'd say the last half of it, like, I meant those things when I was saying, like, because I didn't want to do it anymore. You know, I really didn't want to live like that. But I wasn't willing to take the actions that were required because I wasn't convinced. I was convinced intellectually, like in my mind, like, I know this is killing me. But in my heart, I wasn't convinced. I wasn't, to my innermost, it was the same in the big book. We must be convinced to our innermost selves. And until that happens, you know, I'm going to keep saying what you want to hear. You know, and I'm going to do a little bit. And even if I do the actions, I'm not going to continue to do them, because that happened to me. I got to step 9 and I was like, man, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, like, think I can go back to neutral. And I was in neutral for about 2 days, and then I was in reverse for about 2 weeks, and then I was drunk. You know, and that's just the way it works with us. You got to continue.
Like, what about the blessings though that come from the action? You know, I can look back at years ago, and you know, and now and to today, and the freedom, the desire to drink and drug has been lifted. Mm-hmm. I can do what I want, go where I want, when I want. I'm free.
Free, baby.
Right. I have recovered. I can always get sick, but at this time, due to the action that I was willing to put in, I have recovered, and I've gained all these wonderful friendships and met new people along the way that has turned into, like us meeting as total strangers, and has turned into, you know, my best friend, my, you know, partner on a podcast, you know, all these great things, and relationships with my family. And, you know, when I met my wife years ago, and we were both in very early sobriety at this time, and we met, and, you know, she's from Queens, New York, and I'm from Bullitt County, Kentucky,
right?
You know, and she's like, oh,
match made in heaven, baby.
Right. You know, I remember her talking about, well, you know, she wants to move to Kentucky and all this stuff, and, you know, because we lived in Florida at the time, and are you going to get me the house with the wraparound porch and all? And I'm like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. You know what I mean? But, you know, it took some time, but by God, she ain't got the full wraparound.
Right.
That motherfucker runs the whole length of the front and the back, baby.
Let's go.
You know? And
that's right. Come on, somebody.
These beautiful children that we have filled this house with and turned into a home, and, you know, we get to, like, do great things, you know, go on trips and spend time together and do things. It's just so many blessings have come from just a little bit of action to get a ball moving in the right direction and get the momentum going. And so many great things have come from that.
You get to live life.
Yeah.
Instead of just exist through it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just that alone, like, if you tell me, like, that's all you get, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's some pretty cool shit right there. Is that, you know, I mean, just simply put, like, our number one instinct is survival, right? Like, in order to survive, you're going to have to take action, right? Like, taking action isn't a new concept, right? Like, when I was in active addiction, I took all kinds of action to get the next one, right? What do I got to do? Who do I got to lie to? Where do I got to? I'm broke. I got to come up with some money. Yeah, I got to pawn this. I'm gonna. Yeah, I've got to come up with this money because I don't have any. Like, I'm very resourceful. Like, I'll take action if I think it's worth it, right? Like, and it was worth it to me to come up with that extra $30 to go buy a few pills. It was worth it. So we have to ask ourselves the question: is our life worth it? You know, and that's kind of the point that I had to get to was, I'm going to die, man. Like, I'm going to die if I don't do this. Is my life, could it possibly be worth living? I think it could, because someone was sitting down in front of me and his life looked like it was worth living. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take these actions. And then today, like, it's not just about recovery, right? Like, we have to take action in everything that we do if we want to grow, if we want to change, if we want to get the blessings, right? So whether it's career, my health, I can sit here and know all day about diet and nutrition, but if my doctor says, hey man, you're pre-diabetic, you need to change up your diet. And I go, yeah, you're right. I do. I know I need to eat better. But then I don't eat better, or I don't come up with a meal plan, or I don't get a gym membership or anything. Like, I'm still going to be, I'm going to be diabetic, right. So it's like I have to take actions for my health. I have to take them for my mental health. I have to take them for careers, jobs. Just got to take a chance on some stuff and put the action in, see what happens. Like, I've said this on here a bunch of times. You miss every shot you don't take, so what's there to lose? Like, I don't, that kind of stuff keeps me up at night, man. Like the regret, of not taking the action to try to get that job, or not taking the action to ask, if you want to ask some girl out, or pursue some relationship with somebody that you really like, but like, we got to take action to have a relationship. We have to take action to be a dad, have to take action to be an employee, or to start a business, or whatever it is. Like, we have to do these things. And so why would recovery be any different? Yeah. It's not, and the hard work pays off. What's it say? If we go at it with half the zeal that we went after the next one, we'd be amazed with what could happen. Yeah. And
that's true.
It is.
100%.
It is, man. And like, I try to do more. Like, I'm just trying to, whether things are going good, try to do more. Things are going bad, try to do more. And I try to surround myself with people that do more, because the way that I look at it is, if like, just like with anything else, like if I'm working hard and I'm putting in the action, if I'm doing more work than the other guy, that I'm going to get the thing that he doesn't get. Not that I'm better than him, but it's just like in like a sport. If I'm in the gym working every day and you're in the gym every other day, I'm probably going to surpass you. I might get that starting position, because I'm working at it. I'm taking actions to get what I want, or even like what I need, So yeah, we just got to keep going, man. And it doesn't even have to be like these big things. Like, I think that's a problem that we get into in early recovery, is like, I have to have the number one answer, right? Like, I got to have the thing that moves the needle the most. I got to do this one huge thing. But it's not that. A lot of times it's like doing a few small things that lead to the big thing. It's like, just get started. Just get moving. That's all we got to do, is just get moving, move in the right direction. God will get you where you need to go. If you're doing the work, He'll get you where you need to go. Like, that's been my experience with it.
Mine as well. So.
All right, we about done?
Yeah. You got anything else?
I do not.
Action Jackson.
Action Jackson. Yeah.
That's what it's about. You can keep beating you all over the head with it.
Yeah. Yeah. If any of you guys are out there struggling, and just take the next right step, is what we got to do. Is, no matter how we feel, we're not always going to feel good doing it, but if we're doing something that makes us uncomfortable, there's a good chance that that's what we need to be doing. So we'll just keep it moving, keep it pushing, keep it moving. And we're always here if anybody wants to reach out, needs any kind of help or suggestions or anything like that. That's why we're here. Yeah. So, all right.
Catch you next time.
Yeah. All right. Like, subscribe, comment, all the things. All right. Thank you guys. We love you.